Hey, I'm Patrick Anderson, and now we're going to take a look at the song How Great You Are, which is from the album From Age to Age by SovGraceMusic. The thing that I love about this song, the chorus just wraps it up. My soul must sing to you an offering. After going through the glory of God in creation, the glory of God in the second verse in redemption, the Word made flesh, God's promise to the fallen, and then kind of summing it up in our heavenly hope. Our King will come with trumpet blast resounding, in this final line that I just love. And in an instant, faith will turn to sight. And then after every one of those, we respond, my soul must sing to you an offering, how great you are. That's a great song, a beautiful song. So with this one, the strumming groove for this is a real simple, again, popular one that goes like this, just real slowly here first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, down, up, down, 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 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when you're using that strumming groove, it would get a little bit boring if you do that for the whole time, especially if you have longer chords. So what you often do with this is do that first one, and then when you do it again the second time, you do some sort of variation. And really, you can do anything as long as it's in 4. Which is the song is. I'll give you a specific example of one that you could do, but really you can do anything, and you kind of want to play around with it. But slowly it would be like this. The first one is just this basic 4 pattern, and the second will be a variation. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, and just to give you the ups and downs for that too. 2, 3, 4. Down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up. And that variation just helps to push it along. Again, if you can only do the first part, that basic 4 pattern, it'll work. But you should try to get the variation in there. It'll just help to kind of push it along. Great. So let's start with the intro, and I'm using a capo here, capo 2 using G shapes, which is the key of A. I think the recorded key was maybe B, which would be capo 4, these same G shapes. Again, this is just sort of a stripped down version. We're doing this assuming that maybe you have a church that doesn't have a lot of resources, or you're in a smaller group. So this is a simpler acoustic version at first. We'll talk about some other options at the end. Okay, so let's head into the intro here. Nothing unusual with the chords. You have C, G, E minor, and D. There's a timing thing there that's worth noting. It's not a hard thing. Again, you could scrap it if you wanted to do something simpler. You could just start off with a just a G-C thing, but with this chart, the intro as it's written goes like this. C, G. Then you hold on this G, and E, D, C, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4. Like that. And so, just to kind of spell that out a little bit more slowly, it would go 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Change our God is great. And hopefully that makes sense. But just that little timing thing, it's kind of a fun intro to play, and it sounds great. So let's do once through the intro going into the verse 1. There's nothing unusual about this verse 1. You're going to have G held out for a long time there. Chords come in a little bit faster on the second line. Pretty simple. And this is a good example in verse 1 where you have that G for the whole line like that by itself. You kind of want to do that variation. It just helps push things along. Just to give you an example, I could do, our God is great, the Father of creation. It just starts to sound a little bit slow, like it's not pushing forward, as opposed to this. Our God is great, Father of creation. Something like that. So anyways, let's start with verse 1 after a little bit of the intro. 3, 4. G, 2, 3. God is great, Father of creation. His splendor fills the earth. The lightning crash, thunder sings his praises. The galaxies can't help but shout his worth. We build it into the chorus like that. And again, that's a point at the end of that verse. You just want to do like a variation that's as simple as this. Here's the first part is the normal kind of basic 4, and then the second part is a variation. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. That's just down, up, down, up, down, up on every single beat, and it just works really well to drive it. It would be way too much if you did it all throughout the song, but something like that. That's a good example of a different variation that really pushes it forward. So let's take the chorus now. Again, nothing unusual in the chorus. At the end of the chorus, we'll go back to the intro, and it just kind of flows nicely that way. So let's take it from the galaxies can't help but shout his worth. 3, 4, galaxies. And here's our variation. My soul must sing to you an offering. How great you are. Hold the D variation. My soul must sing. Oh, let the heavens ring. How great you are. Oh, how great you are. Intro. So just a tiny thing with the chorus there, and this is a great idea just arranging-wise from the album version, is at the end of the chorus, how great you are, oh, how great you are, there's a little break, you just stop playing. You could strum straight through it and it would sound fine, but just as an example, take it from how great you are, C, 3, 4. How great you are, oh, how great you are, C, just a nice little arrangement idea. You don't have to do it that way. You could play straight through it like this. How great you are. Oh, how great you are. Back to the intro. So both ways work just fine. Great. So that is how you might play that with a smaller group, just acoustic driving there. If you had a band where you had maybe a keyboard player, a drummer, a bass player, you might consider, again, just being aware of the textures, not overplaying. You can take some cues from the recording, which actually has some very uncomplicated, really great ideas arranging-wise, where they take that first verse after the intro, which is really big, everybody's playing, and you'd be playing on that with acoustic as well, but that first verse sort of drops out. It's driven by the drums and the bass, maybe some piano color or something there. But as one example, you could just stop playing for most of the first verse until the end of the song, or end of the verse 1, the galaxies can't help but shout his worth, where you start to build it up a little bit more into the chorus. So you might do something like this. Take the intro. Our God, down strum on there, it's great. The Father of creation, you get the idea. I'm not playing right now, the song is going on, the splendor fills the earth. And just sitting out there, the lightning crash, the thunder sings his praises. As you get into the galaxies can't help, thunder sings his praises, as galaxies can't help, you can start to get in a little bit. My soul, and then you're all in playing for the chorus, which is really big. So some ideas like that would be good if you decide to take one of the verses down. In, let's say, just another idea, in the recording, and again, you don't have to do this, but for the third verse, if you had some sort of rhythmic groove going on, you could sort of back off. They sort of do everything over the G chord, but just even doing the brushes on the chord could help open it up, still have a different texture than the first verse. Something like, how great you are, we just did the intro, our King will come, trumpet blast resounding, to claim his blood-washed bride. And even better than that, sometimes just a brush on every chord can sound like too much. You might consider doing something like this. Our King will come, trumpet blast resounding, to claim his blood-washed bride. So I'm mixing brushing with a little bit of picking, just with the pick. It doesn't really matter what notes you hit. It's just kind of a texture thing that helps it not be so down, down, down all the time. So those are just a couple ideas if you're playing with a bigger group, what you might do. Again, you know, this is a bigger song, so you'd likely in all the intros, the choruses be, you know, really digging in and strumming. But yeah, that's a good example of this. So this is How Great You Are, Patrick Anderson, and thanks a lot.